Welcome to TradeTheMBI.com. This is John's Reporters for the 9th of June, and we've got that fill back that we've been waiting for, which was to, double click there, the midpoint of the positive extreme here on that breakout move, and that's perfectly healthy within the positive readings that we're seeing from the MBI reading, with magenta over 33 plus over yellow, and just poor short activity. It had been declining through this. We knew that we had a reset here of short-term buyers and getting closer to that crossover point within the DOC for shorts to start taking some activity, but it was just enough shorts to really trap them and create a nice bounce back once the mid areas were filled in. And really what we were looking at was the NASDAQ. My expectation was a move back to the 76%. We got that, filled in these positive extremes, eased off some of its extreme levels, but there was never any significant short activity. And still, with the rising gold and Azure readings in there, not a surprise. And that's what I'm getting from TS again, doing its reloading. And magically we get them back up here. So TLT, we were expecting this move towards the zero, nice little pop back in the weakness, that flight to safety. So why not go back in treasuries? And still can't sustain it with the yield where it is, still too elevated. It's got to come back. So that's the fun of seeing scared moves, because they just aren't seeing the broader view of how things are going to move. And a nice little punchback of the euro, pretty strong turnaround move there. But then it's oversold area of the DOC. We got way down there in the negative 20. You always see some degree of a bounce back from there. That it broke above the 23. Interesting convergence there. And from an oil standpoint, acting a little slow today. We're just right in that, I don't know, I wouldn't call it a Goldilocks zone, because I think it's still too elevated, but it's not extreme enough that it's sucking all of the air out of potential growth. It's just a persistent pain at this particular stage. And it's tough to determine at this particular stage whether we've reached an equilibrium with inflation, that's going to be the basis point for where all costs are at from an oil standpoint. A lot of this is going to be dictated by what happens with supply, and if we do see a significant slowing in things. And this is not going to present any impetus. This is what we were talking about from gold and or from cryptos as well. Just set to languish for a bit, which actually is not a bad thing, because it really clears out a lot of the hyper speculation as well as weak hands, and then you've got an opportunity for those that are committed to it will be the base for it, and then you build from there. From a 5K standpoint, we can see in pre-market, even after additional dips, just moving back to where things ended. But when we look intraday, if I slide this all the way back here, went a little too far. Things started off modest and flat, took a little bit of the nosedive, only to, oh wait, that's just the post-market here. Go back a little further, because it was a much deeper dive. Wow, this is really acting sluggish for me. We'll give it a moment. There was that post-day push-up that really elevated things back up after the initial intraday cave, built the support, pushed back up, and brought it back up over the line. For the NASDAQ one, it was a little bit deeper, and these were easy to read. And you still have no impetus for things not to continue to move to the upside, unless there's some catalyst that is more frightening than what is already out there. And see, that's the question. It's like, well, there's all these warning signs. Yeah, well, but you've got to actually have something that's significantly going to impact things beyond what everybody already knows. And that doesn't exist at this particular stage. Um, could change, obviously with, war footing, things like that will cause impacts. But for now, this is where we're at. As always, though, I will continue to update you on the Skype chat. Trade well.